All right, I am pleased to be joined by Johnny Venerable of PHNX Cardinals, our sister outlet, brother outlet, whatever you want to call it. We're a family, all in ALLCITY. Johnny, thanks for giving us some time. Exciting things happening over in Phoenix as far as the direction of the Cardinals. Looking forward to getting into all of this with you. But just first things first, how are things going in the new year?
It's great. There's immense clarity with this team for the first time in a hot minute. At this time last year, Kyler Murray hadn't had, ACL surgery yet. Jonathan Gannon, Monty Ossenford hadn't been hired. They just fired their brain trust in Cliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim. So much better landing spot. And oh, by the way, they have a budding star tight end that we're going to talk about. So yes, 2023, while difficult at times, laid the foundation for what I think is going to be a pretty nice 2024 for the Arizona Cardinals.
You guys kind of got to have the best of both worlds, where in a year where you weren't realistically contenders, you still got to have some fun moments, some big wins, the Cowboys, the Eagles. You get to see like the direction, but without blowing your draft position. I feel like that's kind of the nice sweet spot. I mean, as a Broncos fan and season ticket holder that watched us win 5 games, and that was fun and all, but now it's like, great, we missed the playoffs to be, right back in the same spot we've been in for 10 years.
Yeah, they did a nice job. They stripped down this roster, did Monty Ossenford. They traded back, but then they played more rookie snaps than anybody else in the NFL. Kyler Murray came back and played really well down the stretch in the final 8 games of the season. They were not favored in one game this year. And the projections before the season were like winless, like the Browns, winless, like the Detroit Lions, like historically bad. And I mean, they were a couple plays away from winning like 5, 6, 7 games. I mean, they should have won the finale
all year long. They were like the
Yeah.
fun team to throw on in that afternoon slate, especially if it's one of those wonky windows where they have like 8 or 10 games in the 11 a.m. window. And it's like, well, I guess I'll watch the Cardinals. Then you turn them on and Kyler's running around and Trey's making plays. Like it was a fun watch just as a neutral observer.
Yeah, well, and when Kyler started cooking the final month of the season, everybody who was begging and pleading for the season to end was like, yeah, I could do a couple more weeks of this. But the best part is, you got clarity with Kyler Murray. He's healthy. He bought into this scheme. They love each other now. They're cooking with gas, and they can put themselves in a position in the kind of up and down quirky NFC to say, why can't we turn this roster on its head and make a playoff push next year? I mean, when you got teams like Tampa Bay and some of these other fringe teams in the NFC, Green Bay rebuilt on the fly. So the Cardinals, while they have some work to do, they are not as far away as people think. Especially, I mean, Kyler Murray over the final 3 games of the regular season, quarterback rating over 100. They went from 26th in yards to 9th in the NFL when he came back. And that was with a very, very watered down, specifically offense at receiver. I mean, Trey McBride, who we're going to talk about, was his default number 1. You add maybe Marvin Harrison Jr., somebody like that, this offseason, fortify this defense a little bit. I mean, you're cooking with gas in 2024, and Cardinal fans should have a reason to be excited.
I do want to kind of come back to all this and, what the Cardinals might add in the direction of the offense, but I think we got to go back to the beginning of the year. I mean, things kind of started slow for Trey. He had this awesome year, 800 plus receiving yards, I think 81 catches. I should have pulled it up, but he only had 7 targets over his first 4 games, 6 catches on that. I mean, it's pretty impressive that he went on to have this like really significant standout season in terms of Cardinals tight ends history. And really, like, he didn't start becoming a major factor in the offense until like week 8.
Yeah. A lot of factors played into that. Well, first of all, I think he was really trending up at the end of last year, and we talked about that. And so a lot of us thought, oh yeah, focal point, thoroughbred prospect, young. He represents something they don't have a lot of, which is size. Well, then Jonathan Gannon got hired, and who is Jonathan Gannon close with is Zach Ertz. And Zach Ertz was, a piece of the puzzle, and he was coming off a torn ACL, just like Kyler Murray, but he was ahead of schedule with his rehab, and he did everything right. And Trey McBride had a little bit of an injury hiccup. I was there at training camp, and he missed a couple days. And his blocking wasn't exactly where they wanted it to be, but you would watch him in practice, Justin, and he was unequivocally, outside of Michael Wilson, their best big body target. I mean, he did things athletically that Ertz couldn't do. And so the season started, and he played a lot, but Ertz was dominating the targets, and it cost them games. It cost them games against the Commanders. It cost them games down the line. San Francisco, Ertz drops multiple touchdowns. And so eventually they said, you know what? This isn't working. They outright released him. I think Ertz's career might be done. He never got picked up by anybody, which is unfortunate. Great human, great person. But then it's like the minute they input Trey McBride in the lineup, everything clicks. And I give Trey immense credit. He never complained. He never went to the media and said, I need to have a bigger role. He learned from Zach Ertz. He took to Drew Petzing, the offensive coordinator. And it was like when the light came on, it came on quickly. He is unequivocally the best tight end of my lifetime following this team. I mean, my dad's been a Cardinal fan since he was a kid. Jackie Smith, right? And went to the Cowboys.
That's one of the questions I had for you at one point was like, how close is Trey to being considered the greatest tight end of all time? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
He's the best tight end right now in the history of Arizona Cardinal football, not Cardinal football per se. Okay. But like I did a big piece of Johnny on the Spot on our PHNX Sports, and the fan base has embraced him, but they're also waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I'm like, guys, it's okay to embrace this. Like, we know greatness when we see it. And he's high pointing footballs, and he's catching like 10 of 11 targets, and he's dominating playoff teams, albeit with a middling roster. And eventually Kyler Murray came back and really upped his production. But it's just like, guys, it's okay that Trey's a great player. We don't have to put an asterisk or caution anybody, because I can tell you right now, the Cardinals do not have enough great players. And so when one sticks out, it's obvious. So all that to say, I mean, will he be a consistent like 1,200-yard receiver? I think that's unrealistic because the Cardinals are going to get better at receiver, and they were very trade dependent this year. But like he should be, if he's healthy, living in 800 to 1,000 yards every season. And I expect, Justin, the touchdowns to approach 8 to 10 with a full offseason working with Kyler Murray.
What were your thoughts on the red zone offense as a whole? Because it's funny, he's a guy, even at CSU when he won the Mackey, he had, over 100 catches and has this incredible year. He still had like one red zone touchdown the whole year. He only had 3 touchdowns with Arizona. I mean, it's like, what's the guy got to do? Clearly, he's a phenomenal pass catcher. He's a good route runner. He understands space. It's like this weird, I don't want to say curse, but just like weird trend that he hasn't been able to get over these last couple of years.
I don't know about that, and I think it'll improve. But I think the turning point, I don't want to say for this season, they won 3 of 5, or excuse me, they went 3 and 5 over Kyler Murray's 8 games. Should have gone 4 and 4 if Matt Prater makes a last-minute field goal. He missed 2 in the final 2 minutes against Seattle. But the turning point where this fan base was kind of on the brink of Kyler needs to show more. When is Kyler going to break out? It was actually in Pittsburgh. So for those of you who don't know, the Cardinals went to Pittsburgh and beat the Steelers and beat them comfortably with Kyler Murray. And there was a red zone possession that happened before half, and it's raining, and the Cardinals have a slight lead, and Kyler Murray throws a touchdown to Trey McBride, and it's called a touchdown, and then it's subsequently reversed. And it's like the Calvin Johnson, did he catch it, or Des Bryant, and it's clearly a catch, and they take it away. And I believe it's 3rd or 4th down, and Kyler Murray says, F it, and goes right back to Trey McBride, and he snatches it over the safety, and he holds it out in front of the official, kind of to mock the official, like, hey, I can do this twice. Make me to.
I got this one. Yeah,
that's right. And Kyler Murray, since that point, was close to being back to his old self. 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, looked fantastic. Trey McBride was cooking with gas. So that, in a weird way, was the point where this offense knew what it wanted to evolve to. It was a run offense, run dominant offense with big bodied receivers and Trey McBride and the aforementioned Michael Wilson. So I think Trey McBride is going to be a player that's in all of the media publications in the offseason, somebody that I think has a chance if Hawkinson drops out or Laporta drops out or Kittle drops out. I think Trey's got a shot still to go to the Pro Bowl in the NFC. Like, he is going to have, there are going to be number 85 jerseys throughout the Valley. Like, we're going to have a reset here. Hollywood Brown's likely to depart. Some of these older players, DJ Humphries, and yeah, it could be Marvin Harrison Jr., but 85 to me represents this new era of Cardinal football. The finesse team of Cliff Kingsbury and, 10 personnel, right, and 4 wide receivers, that's gone. But now it's Trey McBride running the football, smash mouth football that Cardinal fans have really embraced. And Trey has been kind of the extension of what Cardinal fans have been waiting for. We need to punch San Francisco in the mouth. You need to get physical with Kyle Shanahan's Rams. Trey can do that. And so I think, to me, his efforts down the stretch have not gone unnoticed. I mean, people are all in with the young man.
He's that guy that occasionally is going to pick up an unsportsmanlike conduct, and you're just going to be fine with it because it's not going to be malicious. It's just going to be all effort, but it's going to be like, yeah, but he blocked the dude 3 yards out of bounds and he, took him to the curb.
Yeah. His yak ability is elite. I'm ready to say, like, I don't know if he's an elite player yet. He's a great player, but his ability, yards after catch, it's special. It's Kittle-esque. Like, I don't want to knock Sam Laporta because he had a great year, but that's kind of the comparison that we're making. And I felt like a lot of what Laporta would do would be scheme, taking advantage of Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams and Jahmyr Gibbs and all the weapons that they have. I mean, there were many Sundays the Cardinals had nobody but Trey McBride, and he would move them up and down 20-yard line to 20-yard line into the red zone. And a lot of it was just tight end dump off, seam routes, again, high pointing the football, hurdling people, stiff arming defenders. I mean, like, Kyler Murray takes enough heat for being undersized. And then the prior regime thought it would be a good idea. Let's surround Kyler Murray with also undersized playmakers, Rondell Moore and Hollywood Brown. And it hampered his production. And now they turn around this year and it's like, well, let's get Trey McBride the football and look who his favorite target was. There's something to be said about that, I think.
I'll say he's elite. Obviously, I'm biased.
That's okay.
But I mean, I've seen this guy be the only weapon on his team at the collegiate level, and still the guy, like, they couldn't stop him. I've seen him now go to the NFL, and it's projecting exactly how I thought. I thought it would take a little while. I remember even bringing you on after the draft, and we talked about how tight end is a position that historically takes a couple of years to get some momentum going. It seems like he finally has that. You've really hit on this a lot, but just to kind of put a bow on it, where do you see the future with this offense? It sounds like you want them to add speed, Marvin Harrison Jr., like Malik Neighbors, somebody like that in the draft to kind of open things up over the top on the outside, which should only make things easier for Trey in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an extension of the Shanahan offense. Drew Petzing, who's the offensive coordinator, who did a nice job, was the quarterback coach in Cleveland, worked under that really promising staff, and has brought his ideology to Arizona. And they do not like small skill players. They just don't. Like in Cleveland, when he had Jacoby Brissett, it was everybody was over 6 foot, and Donovan Peoples-Jones and Amari Cooper and David Njoku. So he comes to Arizona, and I give them credit. Like, they tried to make chicken salad out of what in certain areas, guys that just didn't fit their personnel or fit their scheme. Rondell Moore, they kind of made him a scat back, right? And some of these smaller players like Hollywood Brown, they gave him every opportunity, but it didn't work out. And so I think the obvious answer is Marvin Harrison Jr. If he falls to 4, and I have this source, but it's common knowledge, he's going to be a Cardinal. We're all hoping that Jaden Daniels really takes to Gerard Mayo in New England and that marriage can work out. But even if they can't get Marvin, I think Neighbors is a fast riser. I love both tackle prospects, Joe Alton, Alu Fashanu, but they have a kind of a smash mouth football feel that this franchise has been lacking. James Conner had a tremendous season, over 5 yards per carry. Not so coincidentally, he's a big physical player. Michael Wilson, who has his injuries concerns, 6'3" specimen. I mean, like, I've been in the Cardinal locker room a number of times, and they just don't have enough players that look like Trey McBride or look like James Conner or look like Michael Wilson. And specifically on the defensive side, that's another story. That's going to be the priority this offseason, is just the guys that walk off the bus first, so to speak, using that age-old analogy. Like, that's where they're going to be living, because I think they've got the right coach. I certainly think they have the right quarterback. And in the NFC, it's like everybody wants to talk about Super Bowls and who's in contender or who's not. As you mentioned with the Denver Broncos, it's underrated just to win games, to have a winning record, to get to
just
the playoffs.
Have fun, yeah.
Right. Like, that's what this franchise can get back to, certainly with paying Kyler Murray $52 million. Trey McBride represents the final kind of piece of the prior regime sifting through that colander and seeing what's worth keeping, he was the one diamond that was a parting gift from the prior regime that they can now build off of. And that's a testament to Trey, because 99% of the draft picks that they had did not work out or off the team. Isaiah Simmons, Rashad Lawrence, Marco Wilson, these guys that we all thought were going to be cornerstone players, gone. Goodbye. So kudos to Trey for that.
That's funny, because I even remember some skepticism just like from going on the PHNX Cardinals show like right after draft night, and I'm, obviously I'm pounding the table for my guy. No, like, yo, he's gonna be a star, and I know everyone's like, I don't know, Mountain West guy, we'll see. When do you think it clicked though, like with most of Cardinals fans, Cardinals supporters, of, oh, like we hit on this pick?
Well, I posted the receipt like midway through this year of our draft reaction to it. And it was definitely less about Trey, because we'd seen him at the Senior Bowl. Like our GM was there and was like, this guy's unbelievable. And I'm like, the Cardinals can't draft the position. I'm numb to it. I've talked myself into 10 tight end prospects. Troy Nicholas and Rob Hauser, they all bust. So I'm like, I don't want to do it. And then Bo Brock, our co-host on PHNX Cardinals, like jokingly throws out Brock Bowers. And I'm like, don't talk to me. And so it was probably his stretch of like, late October into November, when he was putting together, like he'd have double-digit targets and come down with like 90% of them. I don't know if there was a specific game. Obviously, I talked about the Pittsburgh game, but probably November, when it was just like,
it sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Baltimore, I think he had a big game. It was like 10
Yeah.
catches on 14 targets or something like that.
It's, it's easy to box score nitpick or box score scout, but just when you watch the game with your eyes and you see a special ability, a special player surrounded by limitations, that to me is the biggest coup for Trey, is he was able to evolve and get better despite no Kyler Murray the entire offseason. I mean, he didn't play catch with Kyler Murray the entire offseason. He's Clayton Tune,
incredible.
Colt McCoy, and Joshua Dobbs, a new coaching staff that didn't draft you. I mean, you put every barrier in front of him, he ran through, literally and figuratively. And so if that's not a guy that you want to build around, I don't know what is.
Well said, man. I don't think we can end it any better than that. Thank you so much, Johnny. Everybody, make sure you go give the guys at PHNX Cardinals a follow. Follow Johnny. Everything they do is great. Always pulling for you guys. The Cardinals, I don't know. I feel like I don't want to put the Broncos in that conversation. I feel like that's disrespectful to what you guys have had to suffer through, because we got the Super Bowl at least. Yeah. So it's like, like I'll understand my place in the suffering here, but it's been tough. And I think we both deserve a little better than what we've been getting these last couple of years.
No doubt. I hope you guys in Denver get a young quarterback in this draft, whether it's Michael Penix or Bo Nix or somebody.
Amen.
I mean, like, people have their issues with Sean Payton. I can understand that. I wouldn't bet against him if he finds a quarterback in the top 50 that he likes. And maybe you have to take a step back in 2023 in terms of contention. But I think what you're doing with Russ, that's the right move. If you're investing this much in Sean, let him pick his spot and his guy. With Teddy Bridgewater, Teddy had like 15 touchdowns to 2 picks before he went down. Like, he can manufacture offense. So hopefully the Broncos are in a position to get somebody.
I'm praying, man. I'm praying. Definitely will have you on the pod again soon. Always take care, dude.
Take care, man.